Okay, here we are in your first assignment for PHP. We're going to download WAMP. There's a more extensive video included with the assignment, Download and Install WAMP. This is from last semester, so you might want to take a look at it and take it with a grain of salt that maybe some things that may be outdated as they could be in a couple of months. The quick version is that you would download WAMP server. This is a backup that I made onto Dropbox. You click on that, wait for it, and you should get a link to download an executable file. As I wait for this to load, it tells me that it's an exe file and it can't be previewed. So it's a program and it can't run. If you can have Dropbox, I have a link at the beginning of the course for you to sign up. You don't necessarily have to sign up or create an account to get this file though. I'll just say no thanks, continue to view, and tell it to download. And I'll do a direct download in the hopes of putting it on my desktop. Well, it's putting it probably in my downloads now, and that's fine. Show in folder. And that's where it's going, downloads, and I'll catch up with it in less than a minute when it gets there. And I'll drag it to my desktop just so it's easier to work with. Okay, I did skip the part where it's downloading. It took a little bit more than a minute, but no point in just waiting for it to download. But it already is finished, so it's in my downloads folder. I'm going to click and drag this to the desktop to move it. And I'll close this window. I can close the Dropbox and double click on WAMP server and follow the directions. The publisher could not be verified, blah blah blah. Just run. And I might be skipping at some point during this installation as well, since it's going to take time to install some of the parts. I'll want English, okay. I accept the agreement. This is a GNU public license. Basically, it's saying, you know, it's free, you can make changes, etc. Just don't sell it. I'll pretend I'm reading all this. And it's telling you that you're going to need some libraries. You're going to need Visual C++ packages, otherwise it won't run. If you don't have these, and you watch this other video, I'm a little bit more explicit there of what needs to happen. I do have the links for Visual C++ for you to use. In the meantime, I'll click on Next. Set up a directory. This is going to put it in the root folder of C, the C drive. It's going to call the folder WAMP64. I'm going to delete the 64 just because I'm more familiar with it as WAMP. And I'll click Next. And what do I want my shortcut to be called? I'll just call it WAMP as well. You didn't have to change either one of those, just as long as you know what the name is. Destination location is WAMP. Start menu folder is WAMP. And I'll click on Install. Like I said before, this might take some time, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back refreshed in a few seconds, although I would have waited several minutes. I'll tell you how long it took when I come back. Okay, so it's been downloading for about a little bit more than 3 minutes, maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds going on. It's bringing in all the files that Windows needs to run Apache, MySQL, or Mariah, and PHP, both PHP 5 and PHP 7 versions. Once it's finished installing the files, as it has, it tells me, do I want to use Internet Explorer as the default browser by the WAMP server? And I'd rather not use Internet Explorer for anything, since it's on its way out. Plus, I'm a Chrome user, as you can tell. Firefox is okay. But let's see, do you want to choose another browser installed on your system? I'll say yes. And usually you can find those in your computer, and find the root, which is in this instance C. I'll click C to look for the program files. I do believe my Chrome is a 32-bit version, so it's going to be on program files x86. Yours might be in the 64-bit on their program files. I'll go on mine, program files x86. Here's Google, Chrome, application, and Chrome. And I'll click open. Notepad exe is the default that already comes with Windows. There is a link to Notepad++ where you can download that and use it instead. You can always change it later, or use Notepad. It's up to you. I'll be using Notepad++. In some instances also I'll be using Sublime. I'll click on yes for now, and select where this text editor is located, and it should be the same thing. It's going to be in the computer. Local C, program files. I think this is going to be 64-bit, so it's right there and right here, and open. And it's going through, and it's telling me that some features have been blocked, but I want to be able to use it in private networks, such as my home, which is where I am currently, or if I were in my office as well. I don't necessarily want public networks. I don't intend to do homework at Starbucks or in some public Wi-Fi, unless you really trust your library. And then we have some additional information. It's telling you when you do open phpMyAdmin that you're going to start as a root user. That's going to be your name, root. There will be no password. And we'll be talking about my phpAdmin, or rather phpMyAdmin, soon enough. I'll click on next. That's completing the wizard, and then I finish. So that leaves, this is my original installation file, which I might move back to my downloads folder eventually, just with all the other junk that I had there. We'll just go into my file manager, click on downloads, and move it there. The other icon that's left behind, the pink W, this is the actual or rather not the installation, we've already installed it. This is going to be the launcher. Double click. I'll say yes because I want the administrator, which is me, to run it. And it's loading, and I know that it's loading, and it's actually running because the pink icon has turned green in my taskbar. You can either left click to see this menu, or right click on it to get an additional menu. I'll be left clicking on it first. As you can see, we can start by running a local host. We can summon phpMyAdmin, and then we can make changes to our settings in PHP, which we will because we will be focusing on PHP 7. So I'm hovering on top of PHP, and I will hover on top of version and select 7.1.9. Your numbers may be slightly different. By default it wants to select 5.6, which is a solid version. We had some issues previously when we used a book titled PHP 6. PHP 6 never got off the ground, so they skipped straight to 7. I'm going to select the higher number, 7.1.9, and click. And it's accepted my change. It says that 2 of 3 devices are running. I'll click on it again. I have a local host that I can click, my local host is basically giving me a lot of information about my WAMP server, that the Apache version that was installed is 2.427, that we're using PHP 7, what additional software we have, and that the port defined for Apache is 80. This is your common HTTP port that's used. That's what the web pages move in. And as we go along, we will be using some of the tools below. When we create projects, this is where we will be coming in to change them, update them, etc. In the meantime, you are done installing my WAMP. Make sure that you have the green W icon. That means you have been successful in this. If you're using Windows 7, you'll have the start button. If you're in Windows 10, you'll see the square one. I'll click on start. I'm going to type in the word snip, S-N-I-P, and I get a snipping tool shortcut. I'll click on that. And I want to click on new, and once I click on new, I get the screen turns gray. I get this cross that I can click and drag across all the way. That'll make a picture of your installation. You could have also done a screen grab, but I just find that this is a little bit easier to follow. I'll tell it to save the snip. And in my desktop, I'm going to call this my WAMP. I'll leave it as a PNG. My choices are GIF, JPEG, and a web page. PNG is fine. And I'll save it. And then I can close this viewer in the snipping tool. And my WAMP is the file that you will be turning in for this assignment. So in the assignment itself, you'll recognize the assignment as the ruler with the pencil. Click on 1.1 and tell it to browse your computer. Browse my computer. Oh, some images for another assignment. And click on desktop. And I know that I saved it as my WAMP right here. Click and open. And that's it. If you are done at this point, then just click submit. If I click submit, I'll get an error as an instructor, but you are done with exercise 1.1, and we'll move on to actually using the WAMP server in the next projects.